the nicest person in that band, just saying. Themselves feel better. Like their scapegoat.
Wow.
This is the first I've used a projector at a computer performance, and so it's like, yeah, the first time I do it, the computer's dead and everything's not working, so it's funny. Start this. My name's Adelaide. I recently moved to LA. It's really weird out there. I like it. It's, you know, 70 degrees there right now. I'll tell a little story, which is that, like, you know, in the East Coast you can be like, I don't know, this is about street harassment, so if it's like hard for you, I understand. I mean, it's hard for me. It's like this weird, like, when you're trans, like, street harassment is like this weird, like, validating / fucked up thing. So, you know, like, I go to LA and everyone's like really like shaven and like wearing short shorts, and I'm wearing my like my bitch face and like pants and whatever, because I'm, you know, from Philadelphia, and that's what, you know, that's what we do. It's fine, like we're out here, and I'm like trying to represent out there and like be some like surly action out there. They need that. They need to like take down a bit. But you know, so I'm just like months of just like, I don't care, whatever, like, and that, like, you know, that affects your gender in a weird way, and in some way, even the fucked up shit like works its way in there. And I like get off the plane into New York like a couple weeks ago, and I had like, I'm holding like 3 bags, I had like all my shit with me, and like a projector and like stuff I took out from school, and like I've just been like traveling for 2 days, and I'm like just feeling tired, and you know, I'm not like made up at all. And I'm walking down the street to my friend's house like this, with all my bags and like a big coat, and I haven't like been in the weather, and like, and then just like some dude comes up to me, he's like, "Hey baby." I was so grossed out and thankful at the same time. If you offered to carry my shit, maybe like that would have been great, but you know, I'll take what I can get. So my theme for tonight is matters of the heart, and I was going to talk. I was really happy to NC and talk about going to the library because I really like research, and I like nerding out in research. I know a lot of other people do. Is anyone here just like a huge like research nerd and just loves like, yeah, like to know my shit and then like make some other weird shit based on that shit that no one understands. That's like, that's how I like to perform. But I want to talk a little bit about some of the stuff I was researching. I'm going to play a video in the background. You don't have to really focus on it, it's just like ambience. So at the beginning of last year, I was like, I have like chronic depression. I was a little fed up with it. I was like, I just want to know like what my brain looks like for that. And I started just doing a lot of research about the brain. And something I found out in researching like history and medical science in the brain is that people used to think the consciousness resided in the heart. And I was really ecstatic about that, because I feel like my consciousness sort of rests more in my heart than what the brain represents right now. And I'm going to preface this by saying, like, there's a history of community medicine and healing, which is totally not written history, which totally have a bunch of friends who like play into that, and I am so grateful for them, and like that's healing for me. But what I'm talking about right now is like history of medical science, which is like men who are writing down history, who are like white and like dominating that shit. And it's like a Laurel and Hardy like episode, you know, it's really like kind of funny in that way. So, but it's also fucked up. It's like, you're like, haha, it's funny, but also it's like real people during that time. So, you know, they thought the heart was in the conscious for a long time. There's like the church who was like dominating medical science. They're like, you know, if you discover anything about the body, you have to like, you know, find a place for God in there. And so they're all working around that. And then, you know, they're starting to, you know, there's things like circulation and oxygen pumped through our blood, and that's like very basic for us, but that wasn't basic back then. And it's hard to read that and be like, you're like, come on, you breathe in oxygen, you have to take the blood and that pumps. And it's so obvious, but that wasn't obvious back then. So one story that really interests me that influences the piece I'm going to present tonight, which is a new piece, I haven't played it anywhere before, is the tale of Anne Green. And she was a maidservant in a rich house in England, and she got impregnated by her master's grandson, and her baby was stillborn. And she was charged with murder for the stillborn because they didn't understand like things like that, and you know, it was an embarrassment, so they could do that pretty easily to her. And she, before she was to be hanged, she told all her friends, she was like, after they hang me, beat me with rocks and just like punch me to make sure I'm dead. Because one thing at that time was that like human dissection had recently been like less taboo, so all like these like upper class scientists were dissecting all these working class bodies, because that's where like people were dying more, and like, you know, they couldn't afford funerals, so they could just, you know, appropriate those bodies. So she's like, make sure I'm dead by throwing rocks and punching me, so I'm not alive on the dissecting table. And she was hanged, and then all her friends punched her and threw rocks on her. And then she got to the dissecting table, and they realized she was still alive, she was still breathing. And to, you know, because they were really advanced at that time, they were like, we're gonna revive her, we're gonna like bleed her and pour hot cordial down her throat, and like, and this is literally in multiple texts I've read, we're gonna put her in bed with another naked woman to keep her alive. Which, I mean, those three things sounds awesome to me. You know, again, history is fucked up, just, you know, making a little light. And she eventually got better, and at that time was like, why? And they were like, why did this happen? And they're starting to understand circulation and how, like, you know, like, what happens when, like, how do people die when they're being choked to death? And so all these history people did, like, you know, there's another like neuroscientist or like a scientist who would operate on dogs and essentially like open them up, clog an artery, like pinch an artery, then let them go and see how long they'd be alive for. So there's all this history of the heart, and so with that I was like a little traumatized by reading all that, but it also was an exclamation point on like reclaiming the heart for ourselves and how important that is, how important community healing is, how important community is, and just writing our own histories. That's the history right now, and like we have a stronger history, so I'm really grateful to be here tonight and share stories and share history and create history, so just applaud to everyone for being here.